Great, okay, so I'm recording now. So a couple things. One is you will need to have, we're gonna be releasing this on Enterprise, the Enterprise plan for Mixmax. Right now, anybody who is committed to being a beta tester with us is going to be part of the Enterprise package for the duration of their beta testing period before we release this as a fully supported feature. So you should have access to it whether or not you're even paying us. But if you're not paying us, then I mean, that's fine. That's great that you find value in Mixmax as it is. But just know that this feature will not be available forever. All right, so you will need to have the extension installed in Gmail in order to access what I'm showing you now. And for tasks, we're going to be looking in the dashboard here. When you first open the sidebar, usually it'll open to the live feed section, or it might even open to the people section if that's what you're using, or you have saved opened, like we have the access to Salesforce here. And you can see tasks in Salesforce, like we have tasks associated with this contact. However, for beast mode, this is more, the focus of beast mode is task management. So we have a dedicated section here. And the idea of bringing it into Gmail is that a lot of people, a lot of our customers, their workflow happens inside of Gmail. And so we want it to be where they're working. You'll have only a few filters here in terms of which tasks you're viewing. So for this, I'm just going to show overdue tasks. And then you'll see all of the tasks that you have assigned to you. And if I click on one, or if I click Start All Tasks, this is one of the new buttons we're adding here, then it will launch us into beast mode. And so here is what that looks like. So a couple things I want to point out here. One is I'm getting kind of the context of the task that I had set up. I'm seeing who it's assigned to. In this case, Daniel is the person who is signed into Salesforce on this account. So that's why I'm seeing this task. You see the status and the due date. That's what we're seeing up top here. We're also seeing if this is a task that was created from a sequence, we should also be able to see the details of the sequence here with a couple options. One is to skip the current stage, which would be the task stage that we have created. The other is to remove the person from the sequence completely, which is pretty common. We found with a lot of sales teams who are using tasks to manage their workflow. Depending on how the last call went or the last email or however your interaction is, it might be necessary to remove that person from the sequence that they're currently a part of. All right, so if I were to close this or mark it as completed, then I am launched into the next task. And so the idea here is that I can do one after the other after the other. This task is now a call task, and I can tell because the 2 is a phone number. The reason that this little phone is not lit up is because there's no phone number associated in Salesforce with the email address. I know the email address of the person right here. If this person existed in your Salesforce account, then we would be able to automatically fill in their phone number here if that is information that you have saved. If I were to add a phone number here, so we'll just do like, and I can, I'll notice here that it's saying my From account, I also need to add a phone number here. So if you haven't used our calling feature before, you will need to add a phone number. And when I click that, luckily it takes me right to my settings area here. And I can just put in an area code to get my dial out number. And now I have a nice dial out number here. Let me refresh this page here. All right, back to where we were. So I'm gonna find those overdue tasks and I'll say start. Great, so now I have my from number here. I see this person, we're right back where we were. And then if I wanted to call them, what's great here, when I start putting in a phone number, it is highlighting this here. And with calling, I can just click the call button and it will automatically start the call. Then when I hang up, you'll see down here, now I am looking at what are my next steps, and if I want to remove the person from the sequence here, or if I want to edit the follow-up stage that's happening, since this is a task that was created from a sequence. What's great here, if I want to edit, I can just click that little edit button, and oh, looks like I'm hitting a little bug here. Normally that would pop up the next sequence stage that they're supposed to get, but I'll have to file that one with our team. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and mark it as closed, and you see I'm brought right into the next one here. Same idea, I can just keep going through and closing them as obviously as I complete the task. What I'm seeing here is who this is related to in Salesforce. So if it's related to a contact and account, I'll see that automatically populated here, assuming there's a record for that person in Salesforce. If there were no record in Salesforce, it would just say none. None and none, and I could choose to associate it to a record. In this case, if I maybe want to skip this stage, I can just hit skip stage, and that will keep that person alive in the sequence that they're a part of without having to necessarily fill in the details for the task or the call, depending on what the purpose is. And then if I wanted to try to remove the person from a sequence, I do get the prompt to make sure that that is the action I want to take. And then if I hit yes, now they're removed from the sequence and I can move right on to the next step here. Great, so that's what I'll see if I look in the sidebar. And I'll also see here if I just like pop one of these random tasks open, it does still launch me into that same beast mode view. So I can start managing my tasks from wherever I am in the list. But we do go the newest to oldest, or in this case, the top of the list, most recent due date, all the way to the bottom. And you can load more, that's great. So that's what it'll look like in the sidebar. And obviously, depending on what filters you have up here, it will show you a different subset of tasks available to you. So I was just looking at overdue. I can also look at all open. If I choose to look at all, this will show me any closed tasks as well, which makes it a little bit more tricky to use. Because you'll see here, like anything with this green circle next to it, that means that the task has been completed. And kind of the odd thing here is that a lot of the completed tasks you're seeing are the activity that is syncing from Mixmax, from just your normal emails that you're sending out. So if you get confused by that, just maybe check if you're looking at all tasks or versus all open tasks. And these filters should match kind of the filters that Salesforce has set up. So they're meant to be a replica of that, those settings. Now that's where you'll find things in the sidebar. And again, if you haven't used it before, you could just pop it out here with that little tab. And then whatever view you were previously on is what we remember. And so that's what we're seeing here. The other place where you can manage tasks is in your dashboard. So I'm gonna go click here to go over to the dashboard. And then you'll see a fairly new tasks section available to you here. So when I come to the tasks section, this is the same view that I was seeing in the sidebar. The same information is here, but I'm getting a little bit more context available to me, just in the high level view. And then I can also see myself or everyone who I'm on a team with, if they also are using the tasks within Mixmax. or Salesforce, we would see their tasks as well. So you'll see that the views change pretty drastically from just myself to everyone. And you'll also notice, because these are not my tasks, I don't see that same button to start working on tasks here, like I do here. You'll have a couple other options here in terms of filters in what you can look at. You can search by assignee, you can search by date, or by due date, or you can use the saved filters here on the left side to just filter out. So now if I come to my overdue tasks here, and I'll see everything that's overdue, I can try to start all of them if I want, or I can come somewhere in the middle here to start my tasks. And you'll see it pops up into that similar view here, where I get the sidebar beast mode view. And then I can start kind of using my tasks the same way. Now in this case, it looks like this one is not part of a sequence because I'm not getting that yellow bar up top. This is just a regular task that was created either in Salesforce or in Mixmax. We do have a bi-directional sync there, so we will be pulling any open tasks from Salesforce in here. If I hit close, then it will kind of go here and I see how many are remaining, which is nice. I get a little update. Hopefully you don't have over 200 tasks that are open. I would hope it's a little bit lower. And then you'll also see I can just kind of skip if it's like, oh, that's not relevant to me right now. Those will all remain open. So I'm not changing the status of them by skipping them. I'm just saying I'll save that for later. So I'll skip a couple more, and then you'll see, okay, maybe this one, oh, I have the phone number saved here, so perhaps I want to make the call to, to this person, and it should automatically pull in their phone number here with my from phone number here. And again, if I click the call button here, it will show me that the details for that call, and then we'll log that to Salesforce automatically. A lot of people will use this description field to take notes about the calls that they're making. So I can say, like left voicemail, or had a great intro. Next step is call or meeting with sales rep. And then if I close it, it will update that in Salesforce. Great. So this is obviously, we don't need to go too far into detail here, but this is pretty much the same view as what we saw in the sidebar. The difference here is just that it's happening in the Mixmax dashboard specifically under the tasks section. Now you do have some settings available to you, and the settings are particular just to the calling. So the main one right now is just creating a phone number that you dial out from. That's where your settings will take you when you're looking at it in the tasks dashboard. For tasks themselves, there aren't really any settings yet. That's why we're waiting on your feedback to understand what configurations kind of make sense. The last place I wanted to show you tasks is in sequences. So with sequences, you have the option to create email stages if you're using this feature, and you can also create task stages interspersed within those emails, which is a great way to kind of start setting up your workflow so that rather than it being, email, perhaps it's like email, try to give them a call, try to reach out on LinkedIn, or whatever other steps make sense for you. So the sequence might look something more like this if I open it up. Stage 1 will still be an email, and then my follow-up stages, this is where I can start to expand my workflow beyond email. So stage 2 is to try and find them on LinkedIn and send an email. And if this is a sequence that your whole team is using, you can make the assignee the person that sends out the sequence. So for any people that I'm reaching out to, the tasks will be assigned to me. But if Bob on my team is also using the sequence to reach out to a different set of people, any tasks created in his recipients will be assigned to him. And then stage 3, I can have another task that gets created, and then it can be dependent upon the previous task. So I can say create a call task after my email task is marked as completed or deferred. You have a couple other options here as well. So how do I complete my tasks in this sequences view? If you happen to be working out of this view or you're doing a lot of work here anyways, we have an easy option for you to start all your tasks related to a specific sequence. So in this case, I have 7 people that I've put through the sequence. I can see the details here. And then if I click Start Tasks, it will open up the details for this person. So my next task is to find them on LinkedIn and send an email. This is the point where I would go do that. And in my description here, I made a little like template that I can just copy over when I'm writing that email. Hopefully one day we can integrate with LinkedIn directly so that you don't have to copy and paste that over. So then if I hit completed, great, and we'll go through and we'll just complete all of these. And maybe for this person, I'll skip this stage because they're not on LinkedIn. And then when I'm done, when I finally get to the end of my tasks, this is what I get to see. Just a nice little like, oh, finished my work, feel great about it. And then I can close that out. Now I want to take you back in here because we had stage 3 set up to schedule as soon as the stage 2 task was completed or deferred. And so you'll notice here as I have completed some of these, then it's starting to create the next tasks. And the way that I'm doing it so that it creates the task immediately is in my stage 3, we'll see here, I create a call task 0 weekdays after the stage 2 task. So this is a way for you to get that task completed immediately rather than having to wait an entire day for your next step to go. We got a lot of feedback from our own team that waiting a whole day was really stalling their workflow when they're trying to reach out to a couple hundred people at a time. So they just wanted a way to kind of like make it really quick. All right, so let's see if those tasks are created. And I'll see them here too, because in my tasks, I will see anything today. So I have 2 that were created so far. It can take a few minutes. And if I open it up, I'll see, call them if you have a phone number, don't have a phone number. So I'll just close that out. And then I have this one for low@mixmax.com. And I can see, oh, okay, this person, we don't have the phone number and it's also not associated. So maybe I want to, maybe I want to associate it with the contact right now. And I can, pull that up and then enter in the phone number here and give them a call. And then it rings through. Great. And then I see at the bottom, what's nice about this is I see, oh, this was the last stage of this sequence here. So this person is now done with their sequence. They won't expect to receive any more stages. That can be helpful if it means that, maybe I didn't get the result I was looking for, so I can drop them into a new sequence at this time. That's mostly it. Everything you would need to know about managing your tasks, we covered where to find them in the sidebar. Again, that's the tasks here. You'll see them all. In the dashboard, we have tasks here in the dashboard. You can sort by any of these options. I can also create a new task here. I have to do and phone call as options available to me. They'll sync back to Salesforce as well. And then in sequences. And in sequences, if I want to manage them here, I can come to my tasks and I can say start tasks, and then it will open up any tasks that have not been completed yet. Great. So that's mostly what I wanted to cover. The other thing that I wanted to show you is how to submit your feedback. So as a beta tester, we are relying on you to both test out the feature and submit feedback as you have it. We try to make it as easy as possible for you. So we have created this little type form here, and we will send out the link to all of you if you don't have it already. But let me just show you how easy this is. So I can say, oh, ciao, great. This will be the email address that you're using as a beta tester if you happen to use multiple email addresses with Mixmax. So I can say hello@mixmax.com. And then there's two types of feedback that we're collecting. One we're calling bug reports. So this is something that you expected to work and it didn't work that way. And then the other is a feature request, and feedback for making the process a little bit better would kind of fall under that. So if I do bug report, then you'll just be asked to kind of share the details about what happened. Any details you can provide here would be really, really helpful so that we can try and replicate the issue on our side. If you happen to get a screenshot or a video of the issue, then that would be great to share as well. And you can just kind of drag it on here or choose a file that you have saved on your desktop so that we can kind of try and recreate those steps. And then once you fill all that in, you just say, that's it. So the idea here is as you kind of come across certain things, feel free to send them in as they happen. I'd just recommend, maybe bookmarking this form while you're beta testing Beast Mode for us. And that should make it really easy for you to share what your experience has been. And then at the end of the beta testing session, probably in a couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a little more, we'll send you a little bit longer form just about how your whole experience was in terms of testing and the feature itself. And that's pretty much all I had for you. Were there any questions or anything you'd like me to cover again? If not, then you're all free to go. I'll hang on for about 5 more minutes for folks if they had some questions that they wanted to chat or learn about even outside of the tasks that we covered today. Somebody's asking if there will be a recording of this session that I can share later. Yes, I have recorded this, and I will be sending it out to anybody that registered for the webinar, probably anybody actually that signed up to be a tester with us. So you'll have access to what we covered today. Yeah, we do have a question that indicates that these are features that are more central to Salesforce users. That is definitely true, but part of what we've built is a way for you to manage tasks even if you're not using Salesforce. So the idea here is even if you don't have Salesforce, it'll still work for you. You just won't see some of this like open in Salesforce or associate with a contact or account in Salesforce. For the person who asked that, April, do you what CRM are you using for your team? Thank you. Something called Clio. I haven't heard of that one directly on my end, but I can definitely float it up to our integrations team too. We're looking at expanding this once we've kind of like figured out if this is, you know, a good way to handle tasks, expanding this and integrating with other CRMs and platforms as well. We recognize that, you know, while a lot of people are on Salesforce, there are a lot more that are not. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure showing you around, and we will be looking forward to hearing your feedback soon on how it's going using Mixmax tasks and managing those tasks with Beast Mode. Thank you all.